Yes, yay. And look who's coming in hot. Jesus. Oops. I guess I better be careful of that. I guess I can say that. I don't know. I wasn't dropping an F-bomb or anything. Tom Benton coming in hot. Surprised it's not Gabe Barillas coming in. And Tom, I don't see, I see you, but don't see you. So are you here? Oh, you don't have your videos on, you don't have a microphone. So I don't know what's happening with you, but we're going to start. Oh, there you are. Look at him. Jeez, oh, Pizzo. Making an entrance.
I'm here. I'm here. You let me in. Thank you, Julie.
Making an entrance.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Julia. Don't let me interrupt things. Just where were we?
Where were we? We're on book number 3 of everybody.
I can't explain. I cannot explain. Today got away from me.
It's all good. You're here. All of us here in California, I'm sure you guys are having it too. You guys have the weirdest weather outside?
Yes.
It's so bizarre.
It's so humid.
It's so humid. It's overcast. It feels like it should be cold.
But it's not.
Where are you, Julia?
I'm in East Hollywood,
okay.
in LA, and I walked over to Skylight earlier today to sell fall, and I was like drenched in sweat. By the time I'm like, sorry guys, hello, I'm here.
Hello, I'm here. But it's like, well, yeah. And we don't live that far from the coast, so we've never had, I've lived in this house for 25 years, we've never had air conditioning, and it's been fine usually, but each year it's getting longer. It used to just be like a couple weeks, it's getting longer and longer now, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, how will I survive, right?
No, I've got a fan blowing on me right now. Anywho, I've been reading like a maniac this weekend. I don't think any of your books, so sorry guys. So I won't talk about too many of them then. But there's just so many good things. I mean, I can't read fast enough. There's just so much good stuff that's going on out there. So I'll talk about a few of them. One of them I'm going to talk about really quickly because I think last time I read there's a bunch of short stories by Paul Yoon, The Hive and the Honey. He's a master storyteller. He's just that good. But I didn't know, okay, ignorance, you guys probably all knew this, that North Korea shares a border with Russia. And I didn't think I knew that.
I'm not sure I knew that either. So
yeah,
I should have known that. And
so it's really, so all these stories are about the different eras of Korea, diaspora of Korea. And so he was talking about, Russian news. I was like, wait a minute, I need to look up my geography here and look at this. And it's like, there's a little corner of it that shares a border with Russia. And it was really fascinating to so those short stories aren't coming out till October. Look for them. It's going to be one of those big books that's coming out in the fall for that, for sure. But it got me thinking of a couple weeks ago, we were talking about some backlist stuff, and I'm sure everybody that watches this have read it already, but The Orphan Master's Son, it got me thinking about that book again and about North Korea. And that was just, I can't think, no, not, what's his last, Johnson?
Adam Johnson.
Adam Johnson. Oh my God, that book was so good. So if you're in the mood for a backlist title that maybe you haven't read, look for The Orphan Master's Son. Okay, order today is going to be Steve, Julia, and Tom. Screen share's on if you need it. So Steve, take it. We're glad to have you this week. I know you tried to, are you going to tell us some of the books that you wanted to talk about last week too, or you got a whole new list for us?
No, I've got 2 of the 3 I was going to talk about last week.
Okay.
And the third book I'm going to start with, and I think you talked a little bit about it last week. And that book is called Cala. You can read it.
Yep.
Debut author by Colin Walsh. And this is an Irish thriller. I mean, suspense thriller. We've talked a little bit about, I know on one of our calls, editors and like Jenny Jackson, and editors you really trust that the book, whatever they come up with, is going to be worth reading at least. Take a look at it in the manuscript. And this is from Lee Boudreau. Lee Boudreau, she published, among other things, Lessons in Chemistry, and she's just an amazing, smart editor. And so this is one of her books, and she called it, it's if Tana French and Kevin Barry had a love child, it would be Cala.
Perfect description.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect
So
description.
it's got, I mean, all the suspense and plus that Irish great wit all mixed in. And basically the story is there were a group of teenagers in this, I can't remember this town in Ireland, and it's 15 years ago, so it's in the past. And Cala's kind of the five or six kids, but she's the one, like the most daring one. She's the one who gets into trouble or gets the group into trouble the quickest. And she disappeared, when they were all kids, teenagers. And now it's 15 years later, and they're now adults have come back to the town, and they found the bone, she's been located, finally, her body. And now it's a process of unraveling what happened to her and each of their lives too, what they've done since, how it interacts with Cala. So it's just a really taut, ton of French, Kevin Barry-ish, Irish thriller. So it's Cala, it's out now. It's been out a couple of weeks, I think. So
I think last week might have been the first week it was out, but
okay.
the cover is stunning.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
spot on.
I don't do
on
it justice on this,
but it's really good, and it just is. You're right. Everything you said about it is absolutely. I'm not quite finished, but it's just the writing is so good for a debut, and I want to lift up those debuts when we can, because we need them to write.
We do.
And sell books.
Right. Be discovered.
And be discovered. So
yeah.
So fantastic. Yeah. So glad you're talking about it. So glad you're here, Steve. All right, Julia.
Okay, my first one is just out in paperback. It's called Agent Josephine by Damian Lewis. American Beauty, French Hero, British Spy. That's the subtitle of it, which is very intriguing. It's about Josephine Baker, who was, of course, an American woman who went to France and was a performer and then became a spy for the British against the Nazis in World War II. She's a Black woman. She was amazing. It's an amazing story. The way it's written, it's like kind of reads like a thriller, like a spy thriller. So really, really fun. And just, I can't recommend it highly enough. And now it's out in paperback. So, you don't even have to deal with a hardcover. So that's fun.
So perfect. And I'm glad they kept the cover, because I think that cover is spot on. I think that cover is spot on.
Same.
And I have a cousin who lives in France who was looking for some stories of women in history that were into the whole bit. And I was at the store and I saw that one. I was like, snapped a picture of it and said, this is the one.
Yeah,
for
totally.
sure. Yeah, such a good one. All right, Tom.
Okay, so I picked other weeks. I picked real summer reading, like thrillers and comedies and romances. This week, there's summer reading for people who like heavy, deep books. All right, Julie, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The first one is The End of August by Yu Miri. You see that?
Yeah.
This is the author of Tokyo Ueno Station, which a couple of years ago, when Riverhead published Tokyo Ueno Station, it won the National Book Award for translated literature and became a kind of a publishing sensation as a result of that. And so the timing it's really just perfect. So Riverhead, I'm not sure if she had other books published before Tokyo Ueno Station in the States, but now Riverhead is, they have a publishing program. So The End of August is her big book from, that had been published in Japan and Korea, and now is finally translated into English. When there's an audience, it's ready for it. Now, the big difference, there's many differences between the two books. One of them is size. Tokyo Ueno Station was, End of August is I think it might be 700 pages. So I've just told you, I'm holding up the cover. I'm not holding up the book.
But I love that.
So this author clearly can do all things. And she's of Korean descent, but she lives in Japan. And the book is about both, marathons play a role. So it begins with 1930s Japanese occupied Korea. And the character we're reading about is a running prodigy who wants to be in the upcoming 1940 Tokyo Olympics. But he would have to run under the Japanese flag. That is a major issue for him, obviously. So then a century later, his granddaughter is also training for a marathon and discovering basically her family's past. So it's, and ghosts played a role in Tokyo Ueno Station, and they also play a role here. It's filled with ghosts. So it's, and so you get into the history of the relationship between Japan and Korea, comfort women. When this book was published in Japan, this was very controversial because it's dealing with that subject in a very, open way. So it's a family saga. It's a ghost story. It's a big book of, literature, basically. And Riverhead's the right publisher for this. This is the publisher of Olga Tokarczuk, who won the Nobel Prize. And she also publishes books that are small, that are big. And so the book is out tomorrow in hardcover. I expect the reviews haven't really started to run yet. I expect it'll get major attention, but this is the kind of book that takes reviewers a while to digest, think about, talk about, and then eventually write about. So coming out beginning of August, and then I'm sure it'll carry through the fall into the 10 best of the year list. So end of August, out tomorrow by Yu Miri.
And is the author Japanese or Korean?
Korean.
Okay.
But living in Japan.
Living in Japan. Okay. They just do such a great job with the ghost stories.
Yes.
There's just something about the way that they tell their particular ghost stories are just
right.
So good.
Well, and I should also mention, I mean, we do have it on, I'm not sure actually, maybe someone else knows when you win the National Book Award for translated literature, does it go to both the author and the translator or just the translator? I'm not sure, but I should mention that Morgan Giles, was the winner of that National Book Award also, and she's translated the new book as well.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm assuming, I don't know.
Probably both.
I would think
the author, but the translation is so.
But the translation is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the National Book Award, I think the winner has to be a U.S. citizen, maybe, or a U.S. or live in the U.S.
Well, if that's true, then it goes to the translator because the translator is translator.
Okay.
There's a lot we don't
I used to
know,
have to submit to it. So
we're getting educated here.
Yeah, so it must be. So then, Julia, it must go to the translator.
I think it might. Yeah,
Okay.
It might just be a translation, but a good translator is nothing to sniff at.
No, and how cool! How cool that we're now giving out awards to translators and giving them the notice they've always deserved but never got.
Love it. All right, another good one. Oops, you guys still here, or did I lose you?
Still here.
Okay. All right, Steve, what's your second pick?
Okay, this has been out a few weeks. It's completely, it's completely different than my first book, and it's called Do Tell. I don't know if you can read that, by Lindsay Lynch, who is actually a bookseller. She works for Ann Patchett at Parnassus, and she's her buyer. And this is a novel. It takes place in Hollywood in the 30s, in that kind of glamour heyday where stars were stars and the studios controlled everything. And the main character is a young woman. She's an actress, but she's not been very successful with her acting career. But what she's really good at is finding out gossip about what's going on the set and behind the scenes and with different actors. And she kind of feeds that information to one or two of the local gossip columnists. But she eventually decides, you know what, I'm not that great at acting, but I'm really good with this gossip stuff and finding info. I'm going to start my own gossip column. And so that's what she sets out to do. And so, there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of glamour and glitz of Hollywood in that day. And but underneath it all is like the deception and the all the bad things that is going on at the studio. And she's at a party one night, and the biggest male star in the world probably rapes a young starlet at this party. And then there's a big trial that goes on. But she knows the truth, but will she sacrifice her career and all those connections with the publicists and the studios, because it would be the end of her career if she really came out and testified for this woman? So she kind of lets it go. And it's just, yeah, it's like this really dark underbelly of what's going on in this glamorous world of Hollywood. But she, there's other stories, that she's worked on with other characters, but as it progresses, she really tries to redeem herself for this act or lack of action on this one case. So it's a really good, interesting thriller. It's if you watch a lot of Turner Classic movies, and stuff like that, this is a good book for you. And you can tell that cover is very much like
very much old Hollywood.
Old Hollywood. Of course, we would have seen it in black and white probably on our screens on our screen.
Exactly.
So that's it. It's Do Tell, Lindsay Lynch. It's been out a couple of weeks now.
Okay, I want to set a scene for y'all. Winter Institute dinner. To my right is Benjamin Labattu, the maniac, which we can't stop talking about. Who, because we switched around dinner partner, or not dinner, but people switch around, the authors switch around at these. And so when he moved from another table to sit next to me, and he didn't have a napkin. So he decided, this is January, still a little COVID-y, decided to use my napkin. Okay, and handed it back. Okay. Sitting across from me is Lindsay, Do Tell author, who is
That's
this
so funny.
just the sweetest, nicest Southern girl that's sitting across the table. So the poor thing had to deal with me, all this in all its glory, and Benjamin on the other side.
Oh.
So I kind of would love to hear her take of what she thought about that dinner.
She has a whole different perspective, a horror story she observed that night. But
Yeah. What's her book business gossip column gonna look like?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's got exactly that. I was just like, oh my God, that poor woman.
Oh.
But aside from, she is lovely, and I hope her book does well, because she's just a doll. She's absolutely a doll. And she survived a Winter Institute with me and Benjamin.
And I love the mix of authors. I mean, you couldn't get two more different books and authors than those two sitting across from each other. It's great.
And they were, what I think is fascinating, though, if I'm remembering the way that the tables were set up from the tables that they came from, they were not at the same tables that they came to us. And so, yeah, she was probably just like, oh boy. It was really fun. It was an amazing dinner. As always, those are always the fun ones. But yeah, that was it. But she's hope her book soars. Yeah, that's a good one. She's got a good. Go ahead.
I'm listening to it on audio. It's fun on audio.
Yeah. And she doesn't, not like she doesn't have a great little patron saint underneath her wings.
Yeah. Who could ask for a better one?
Which reminds me, I don't see Gabe on here, and I know that there's some big books that he's got coming out. One of them being Tom Lake, which is Ann Patchett's book tomorrow. I read it. It is, and you don't really even have to say anything because it's Ann Patchett, and she's just done it again. So just go and buy it and read it, and you will not be disappointed. Tom Lake, it's so good. It's what she does. She just writes good stories and good characters. So stick that one on your list. Anyways, Julia, what do you got? Okay.
I have a kind of, it's fun and not fun at the same time. This is called Goodbye Earl, a revenge novel by Lisa Cross Smith. So if you are a fan of the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, you might know the song called Goodbye Earl, which is I encourage you, if you have not watched the music video in a while, to go YouTube that, because it is one of the best music videos ever made, with starring Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue. And
Oh, no way. Okay.
oh yeah,
Oh, I haven't
Jane
seen it, so I
Krasinski.
gotta go look at this.
Me
Yeah,
too.
Jane
I'm sure I've
Krasinski.
seen it, but I don't remember it.
Oh, you guys, Jane Krasinski from 30 Rock is in it. It's like, it's
A
amazing.
who's who? A who's who?
An amazing video. I'll leave that to the video to tell. I mean, Dennis Franz is Earl. That's a given, but it's a great, and Lauren Holly, I think, is the other person that's in it. And so this kind of takes the story, and if you don't know, it's like that song is like a good old fashioned country, like kill your husband song.
Because he deserved it.
He did deserve it. Yeah, he did. So that's not really a spoiler. But this book takes place, it's a group of women who graduated high school in like 2004, and 15 years later, they kind of come back together for a wedding and find out some secrets about how different members of this little group are living their lives and what's happening to them. And maybe one of their husbands is the Earl, who maybe needs a bit of offing. And so it's just a really fun revenge novel. It takes that sort of story that the Dixie Chicks tell, or the Chicks, sorry, tell in their song, and then, fleshes it out and gives you just a good kind of thrillery read. This is a great beach read, a great airplane read. It's like really fun. It's very fast. But particularly if you're a fan of that song, but even if you're not, it's just a really fun ride.
What a great concept though, to take that song and flesh out a novel on it.
Oh, I have a list of country songs if any authors would like my input on that. Should be like books. 100%.
I love that. It's like
Yeah.
brilliant idea. It's like, it's just like there's a whole plethora that we can do out there.
Oh, totally.
Oh.
The story song is like an old troubadour, tradition. And I mean, it goes back to Homer's. Homer. Odyssey. So like, I know. Oh, I froze. Sorry.
Yeah, froze, but oh well. Yeah. All right. Well, it's really good. And Amanda she did our work for us. She put the link for the video
Good.
Oh,
in the
good.
chat. So that is awesome.
A classic.
A classic.
It's one of those videos that I remember where I was standing the first time it came on MTV when I was a teenager. I remember where I was in the house.
I love that. I love it. All right, Tom.
Okay, so my first book was a 700-page book in translation. The new book is The second book is The Visionaries. This is these are philosophers. So it's Hannah Arendt, Simone de Beauvoir, Ayn Rand, and Simone Weil. So these are so Wolfram Eilenberger is a German writer whose first book Penguin Press published in 2020 was called Time of the Magicians, and it was an intellectual history of German philosophers around the time of World War I. And it was a sleeper hit for us. It did really well. The reviews were incredible. And those were philosophers and names that most people didn't even know that well. These are names that, are much more familiar to us. And they're, it's interesting. So this is set during these women's lives in the 30s into the 40s. So it's all around World War II. And it's a fascinating look at how the same set of events in the same general part of the world led them in completely different places. And it's really good story. I mean, this philosophy is here, but it's great storytelling. So it takes you from Russia to, of course, Germany, Paris, and Ayn Rand went to Hollywood, of course. And it's so it's filled with, and he tells the story simultaneously and chronologically. So you kind of see where each woman is in each stage, and how they ended up where they did. And it takes all four, seriously in their way. We can all agree or disagree about Rand, for example, but they're all really important. In the intellectual history of the 20th century. So it's great stuff. It's history, it's philosophy, and it's a rediscovery of women's lives at the same time. So it's the visionaries.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
And
really
I kind of love that we went from like this female revenge chicks
cool.
thing
Yes, right.
we
to
got
at least one female that some of us should gather revenge on.
like we have got something for everybody on TV.
We do, absolutely.
But before we get to our lightning round, I wanted to get to the comment section because I'm cracking up because, okay, your one book was a Korean author, Tom, and then I talked about the Paul Yoon book, and Beth Doherty went to a Pam Klinger event where she met. I'm going to give your story away, Beth, but you put it in the chat, so you're if it's in the chat, it's fair game for everybody. So she met Paul Yoon and she was so nervous and everything. So she asked him if he like went to North Korea like it was a vacation destination. She was so nervous. And it's like, yeah, we've all done those kind of things where it's just like, oh yeah, kind of no. I guess you gotta look
Not
at
so
them like,
much.
no. Although, so Adam Johnson, which I think is fascinating, and you can look up stuff that he actually did go to North Korea.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh yeah, no, he did. He went under like some guise of like he was oh God, I'm gonna screw up the story, but I think he was teaching at Stanford at the time. And somebody was going over there in some diplomatic fashion or whatever, and he went kind of as with that group, not, obviously didn't go, I'm gonna write a book about North Korea and I want to do some research, but he did his little bit of, research while he was there, and just fascinating his stories about what it was like over there. I mean, everything you read about what it's like is what it's like. I mean, it's
I'm sure
creepy. I think more though. I mean, that's what I want. I wonder if it still is as creepy as you think. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a connection with the outside world. Yeah, it's
yeah. Yeah,
it remains there's not a lot of ways it can change at this point.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And it's just like the whole propaganda. Okay, Amanda's hilarious on here. She says she wants to see a cage fight between Chicks and Rand. Oh my God. Hilarious.
I know who my money's on, Amanda.
Me too. Doesn't even have to be all just one. All right, we're gonna go lightning. We're going fast today, so let's go lightning round. Doesn't have to be super lightning then.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Out last week, Richard Russo's new novel. I got my full books mixed up. Somebody's Fool. So this is the third in his Fool trilogy. The first was Nobody's Fool, which was really about Sully, who played by Paul Newman in the movie, a very underrated film and maybe one of his more underrated performances. He's just great in it. It's a really good movie. So that was the first book. And then Everybody's Fool mostly had to do with the chief of police, Raymer, who's just like mishaps happen to him all the time. And then Somebody's Fool. This is more about Sully's son, but it really involves lots of characters that we've gotten to know in North Bath, the fictional town in New York. It's being incorporated into a bigger city. There's all sorts of things going on, but Sully's son, Peter, has come to live now in North Bath, and it has to do with his two sons, one in particular who he's estranged from. Who, I don't know if you guys remember the first book or even the movie. His son called Whacker was his son, and that's the son who's all causing all sorts of trouble. But it's Richard Russo. I mean, he's just a master. He's delightful. He draws incredible characters. He's funny. He's just a joy to read, and this is no different than any of the other books I've loved that he's done. So it's out now. Somebody's Fool, Richard Russo.
Yeah, can't go wrong. Kind of like the Ann Patchett, you can't go wrong with a Richard Russo.
You can't go wrong with a Russo.
Yep.
And I love when writers like that return to that world, those characters that you remember and love, and then give you the next chapter in their lives. It's great.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
same for me.
Yeah, because it's just like going home. I mean, it's just that the familiarity that's like, oh yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
like I love like when I love reading a John Grisham novel. It's just like Grisham just does that for you. It's just like, oh, here we are.
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you feel like you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though years have elapsed in between.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't wait. 'Cause,
Exactly.
oh, Steve, doesn't he? His new book is the prequel to The Firm, right? Or the sequel?
It's the sequel. The
Sequel.
sequel to The Firm.
Sequel
Yeah.
to The Firm.
He
Can't
never did
wait.
a sequel to The Firm
He
before?
never did a sequel to
No,
The Firm.
this is it. This is it.
Wow.
So this is talk about a big deal happening in the fall.
I think it's called The Exchange. I think that's
Yeah,
the
something like
title.
that,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love
Yay.
Yay. All right, Julia.
Okay, so mine is a little bit of an activity book for the end of summer. It's called Fat Girls Hiking, and it is a really cool like guide for being outdoors and hiking. If you're not the kind of, if you're fat and if you're not a size that normally people are seeing on trails, or like, maybe like you feel uncomfortable being on a trail, this book is so great at like, here's how you kind of get past some of that. Like, here's how you do this safely, hiking by yourself or with a group or whatever it is you're doing. It's got interviews with a bunch of different hikers that of all different kind of abilities and in all different parts of the country. It's really fun. It's really like colorful and has these beautiful pictures and illustrations and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite sort of books. I love an inclusive activity book, because I think that sometimes people forget that, like, this world is not super nice to fat people, even though they're like we're just trying to live our lives. And like, so yeah, it's one of my favorites. I kind of come back to it and just skim some chapters from time to time. I'm a person who loves being outside and is pretty active. And so like, it's one of those things that like really kind of spoke to me. So yeah, it's a good
I
one.
love it. I love
Yeah.
inclusive and empowering. It's like, yeah, I love that because it's right. I mean, it's just like go out, enjoy, but the key thing that you said though in there is safely.
Yeah.
Because
And
being-
I'm a person who I exercise a lot, but hiking particularly, like I get out of breath almost immediately.
Right.
And I've had people come up to me and say like weirdo stuff, like where I'm just like, okay, thank you. And
Thank
this
you.
book
Fair
is
enough.
really nice about like, okay, like how do we handle these situations? You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, it is,
And,
and yeah, I'm the same way because I've gone with my kids and stuff, and it's like, and it's knowing your limits too, and it's
Sure.
knowing it's just like, hey, I want to be out here with y'all, but guess what? You guys all go ahead. I'm gonna sit here and wait for you when you come back because I'm out of breath.
yeah, or
and I
like
can't make
I'm
it.
just gonna be out of breath when we're walking up this hill. I promise you I'm okay.
I
Like,
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
yeah, it's
Exactly.
like
Promise I'm
I'm just-
okay. Yeah,
I'm just walking up a mountain, so I'm breathing heavily.
exactly. So no, I love that. I love it. What a great choice. All right, Tom.
All right,
Moses?
so my last book is, we talked about debut authors, how we like to support debut authors. So out in paperback tomorrow is All This Could Be Different, which we published last August by Sarah Thankum Matthews. And then what happened to this book is what we hope happened to all of these debut novels. And that doesn't happen to all of these debut novels, which is readers keep discovering it. We published it in August, got really good reviews. Word of mouth just kept happening, and then it was nominated for the National Book Award. It was a finalist for the National Book Award in Fiction in November, I think. So the buzz that developed that was there before the book was published carried over into the real life of the book when it was in stores. So it has sold and sold and sold right up to the time it's coming in paperback. But it'll be really discovered for book groups in paper. So it's a feel-good novel, but very realistic. So it's set in the early 2000s in Milwaukee. It's a group of 20-somethings who are struggling with money. I love books that are honest about money, which most books aren't. And love and friendship and finding your family, when you're in your 20s and this is the main character is a daughter of immigrants who are now back in India. And so she has to and wants to find her people. So it's really a great book. got incredible reviews. As I say, it was nominated for the awards, showed up on a lot of top 10 lists. So it'll be a great paperback. Out tomorrow, All This Could Be Different. And it's one of my favorite titles of all time because we all long for this, this thing that things, we all long for that idea.
Exactly. It's a great title. It's a great cover too.
It's a great cover, yeah.
It's a really good cover. I love it.
I'm glad we kept the cover same as the hardcover.
Yeah, because they changed a couple of them recently. I won't mention any names, Steve Atinsky, which not gonna say.
Could have been any of us, Steve, but
Could've been anybody, but
I don't
just
know.
like,
Well,
I
now
know
I don't. Now I want to know. But
I know nothing.
Okay.
I'll tell you in the green room.
Okay.
Anyways, and I got something else because I don't want to talk about it until we can actually talk about the title, Tom. There's a title that Laura at the store loves. It's a Riverhead title that's out right now, and I can't remember the name of it. It's like,
oh,
how do we not know about this? But
yeah,
what
I
I'm talking about?
know. What's it called? It has his mother in the title, right? It's
I think so.
yeah.
Is it Sidestep? Oh, I don't know. Anyways,
I should know.
I know. We'll talk about it.
Ugh.
The other one that I just want to mention really quickly is okay, everybody's curious in the green room. I mean in the chat. It was the marriage portrait. They changed.
Which book?
Okay, the marriage portrait, the Maggie O'Farrell.
Oh,
Maggie O'Farrell's marriage portrait. Yeah, I don't like it either.
Yeah.
And then they gave her backlist this similar look, and it's
Yeah.
not good.
Sorry if anybody from the publisher's watching.
Just me.
Just who's watching us here. But it's a great cover. Don't get me wrong. I love the cover. I just don't think it goes with that
With the book, with her. Yeah.
Because the covers, I mean, you look at the cover, it's like, oh, that's a great cover. But it's just like knowing the book, I was like, oh, whoa.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
But
No, I was disappointed too.
anywho, that's just me and being, let's see, I'm not quite Penny from Costco or whoever at Barnes and Noble that gets to like change cover.
yeah, right. They consult you before they put a cover on a book.
Yeah.
Not kind of carrying that kind of clout around, but anyways. Another one that I want to talk, go ahead, Tom.
Well, the Riverhead book I looked at, it's called How to Love Your Daughter.
No, that's the one I want to read. Okay, that's the one that I want to read because that one is that's a translation, I think.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it looks so good, and I've got that on my short list, so I really want to read that one.
So then
No,
it's
I
a
can't
different
think
book.
of it's a different one, and I can't. And Laura read it, so we've got to do a little bit of digging. But How to Love Your Daughter looks really good.
Yeah.
But a book that Hachette published but didn't publish her new one was a book called California by Eden Lapucki a few years ago. And her new one is out called Time's Mouth, and it's out tomorrow. Counterpoint did it.
Yeah, that's Andrea. Yeah.
It's Andrea. And so
Well,
I don't know if she was going to talk about it today or
It's
not.
actually
Oh, no,
it's Amy.
That's right. It's
Because
Amy.
DRH distributes
That's right.
Catapult.
Catapult. That's right.
But you're right. There was a time. Luckily, Andrea's not on here because it would cause her great pain, I think, to discuss this.
So we dodged that bullet. But
Sorry.
aside from who distributes it, and Amy, if you're watching, but it's really good. It's a really good set in California. It's got a little bit of cult stuff going on, a little bit of time travel, sort of. But it's done really well. So
and Eden's a former bookseller as well.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't know that I knew that.
Skylight. Yep, Skylight Books.
Okay, Skylight.
Where did she sell?
Book Soup too.
Yeah.
Patrick was at Book Soup.
But not Eden.
Maybe Eden was too. That was before my time.
Right. I could be wrong though, but yeah.
You might. You would.
Anyways, take a look at it.
You were at Book Soup, so you probably know more than I do.
Yeah, but you sold to them before I was there, so.
It's a very incestuous book selling world that we have here, and we all know each other from lots of different places.
That's true.
But we also love supporting booksellers who turn authors. So this is I think she's really done a great job on this one. So it's a good.
Oh, that's exciting to hear.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Happy reading. Lots of good stuff. I mean, way more than I read the new Kristen Hanna over the weekend. That's not coming out until February, which is just mind-blowing great. She tackles the Vietnam War and did a really outstanding job. So can't wait to talk about that in like 8 months. But pre-order it, just to, just take care of that. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your week. Stay cool if you can. Stay inside, hibernate and read. And we'll see everybody next Monday.